Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome on in the PWTorch Fireside Chat for September 8th, 2022. I almost got it wrong there, but I didn't. I'm PWTorch Assistant Editor Zack Heydorn. He's Tyler Sage. Tyler, man, we're coming off a wild little few days in the professional wrestling business, and that includes, that's even in a year in which Vince McMahon freaking retired. I think this week may have been even busier than that. So hey, we're all still here, so this is good.
Yes, and I've said so many words on this internet platform that is YouTube. It's hard to say what came from you where, but it might have been yesterday. I did a live stream, which I very much thank anyone that watched that is here today as well. My wife was surprised by how long I was talking, so that's a kudos to all the viewers out there. She's like, "Wow, people really care about this, huh?" I was like, "Damn right, they care about this."
Of course they do.
Yeah.
Of course.
I was like, while you're looking at if Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine, I'm wondering if Ace Steel bit the leg of Kenny Omega and if he went and saved a dog. That's what I care about. God damn it.
Hey, so. You know what? Larry, he needed to get out of the way of the badness, man. And, leave it to Kenny Omega to be the guy to do that. And then he freaking got bit. I mean, what? We're going to get into the minutia here, but
yeah,
when you hear that as part of this story, yeah. It's like, what the hell are we talking about here? Like, what are we doing? Like my 3-year-old daughter knows not to bite people at in daycare, right? I mean, it's just so unbelievable. Some of the details that have come out, and it's like, getting bit by Ace Steel is just pinnacle of those details. It's so bizarre.
It is. I mean, it's like so unbelievable that it's hard to yeah. It comes out and then you get both sides of the story. I mean, there's Dave's side kind of came out I think last night on their radio program that yep. So we can talk about that, and that's definitely the Bucks elite side of the story, and is a QA I've enjoyed. There was there's a great meme. I don't know. I'll look it up while we're talking. But yeah, this is a lot to talk about. Yeah, I think the biting thing wasn't even a thing when we were talking. Obviously, that was just the initial days of brawl. I think the chair was known. But yeah, I mean, the more things being fleshed out. Oh my goodness, Steven. Just coming in hot. Steven and Doc.
I'll flash it up just so everybody knows what we're talking about. But yeah, that's Steven coming in real hot. My goodness. What's up, Sean and Dennis and Dr. Ross, Dana? Thanks everybody for joining us. Yeah, the week's been incredible. That's for sure, Sean.
Yeah, that
is for damn sure. Glad you guys are all here with us. I think Tyler and I were talking in our official production meeting, and the angle. We don't want to redo the show we did Monday. I think everybody is up to speed on what happened and even where things stand with the trios titles being vacated and the world title being vacated and CM Punk and Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks not even referenced or shown at all on television last night. So I think we've got a pretty good head on what happened last night, though. Tyler, on Dynamite, that I think was the second big moment. The first being when everything went down, and the second being, hey, how is Tony Khan going to handle this? How's he going to handle it? What's he going to do? Because it was very much a situation, as we said Monday, which was, hey, he's got to flex some muscle here, and get things back on track. And last night on Dynamite, I thought he did a very good job as far as that goes. I mean, the whole situation is super unfortunate, but I thought that he got to the point, he called it out in the open right away, not specifically, but just here's what we're going to do. He had Jon Moxley in the ring, and Moxley was able to cut a promo out there that kind of blended and blurred the lines a little bit as far as the real stuff going on, and then just getting the world title back. I thought that was really well done. It was just a mature way, I think, to go about this show. And I wasn't necessarily expecting that. I was hoping this would be the way that they go. He got down to the brass tacks of, hey, let's make championships matter. Let's get the biggest stars in a position where they're going to go after the title. We're not going to, kind of MJF is not going to shoot on Punk or the Young Bucks. Max Caster is not going to rap on the situation. It just kind of a calm, cool, collected approach. And, I don't know that it was the fireworks that everybody maybe expected, but I think it was what the company really needed at that time.
For sure. It showed, depends where the maturity came from, but it showed a level of maturity for like, hey, like I'm dead serious. If anyone does anything outside the realm for like these parameters tonight, then you are like dead to me, in less words, probably not dead to me. It's probably not a good term as a leader, but I was surprised there. Also, you didn't bring it up, but I think you hit all the big picture stuff really well. To kind of dive in there a little bit, the booing of Tony Khan pretty prevalently, I thought was very noteworthy and not entirely surprising, but I think fits a lot of what we've talked about. Well, a lot of, there's people that are team Punk, team Bucks, and team everybody involved is at fault. There's been nobody who's like, man, Tony Khan, he did everything he could to prevent this, right? There's not one. If you wanted like the hot take artist out there to just manufacture a take, that's probably what I should have done Monday, is just do that and be that guy. Just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But that was confirmed there with that. But yeah, like you said, I don't know how much we'll talk about MJF again. I think overshadowed in this again, just by how this show turned out to be a success. So a positive overshadowing of MJF, but him talking, just as plain faced as possible about WWE, saying people by name, that stuff obviously is still okay to do, one would presume. So we'll see about that in a less busy week. That would probably be a big story here, but and then Moxley just being like literally like the legend of AEW. And I was messaging with some friends, and I was like, people have been calling for there to be a Undertaker like character, and I just think it's Moxley at this point, whether that's in the locker room or not, but on screen, like he is when Moxley's right. I think Todd Martin's had the first time I heard this with, if Moxley's right, the company seems to be in the right place. So I think that was proven last night of him just literally being like, don't worry, I got you. I'm here. I'm going to do this. And it worked. I mean, as a fan, it worked. And as a analyst of the product, I thought it worked as I thought it worked as for both camps, right? If you maybe have heard this stuff a little bit, it works as like, hey, here's like the new chapter of the company. If you are in the weeds as much as we are, it worked as like it worked on both sides. It was hard to do in a promo, to do like a work and shoot promo about the turmoil and all that stuff. So yeah, go ahead.
I think that was what was so great about it, was that he was able to kind of blend that all together. Like if you didn't have any idea what the hell he was talking or what happened over the last 3 days, you could watch that promo and go, wow, Mox is fired up about the AEW World Championship that's been vacated for whatever reason.
Yeah.
If you did know, you'd say that to yourself, but you also say, yeah, and I think that's kind of a message, to the locker room and to Tony Khan and to the fans too, that I'm the guy. And I think more and more people are like Tracy, Tracy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it as always. Your team Mox, and I think a lot of people will be, Dennis too. I think a lot of people will be moving forward, because I said this yesterday during the show, and I think I said it, I was on hosting for Wade last night too. And this notion of Jon Moxley, like he was the first big kind of, I don't want to say free agent signing, but almost, like the first big reveal, that moment where you kind of said to yourself, okay, wow, this company's going to be the real deal. Like it was Mox. And then, I don't know, I think there's something to be said for like Tony Khan has tried to maybe run away from Moxley in certain ways, and not because he's not effective or a big star, but it just seemed like, okay, you put the title on him, and then we got into the pandemic, and so you can barely even like judge that. And then as soon as like we were about to come out, like it's like, all right, we got to flip it to Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega needs to be the champion. And then you got to like complete that story with Adam Page, and it's kind of like, Moxley was the focus there. And it would have been interesting to see what would have happened not in a pandemic. But there's always been reasons, I think, not to go with Moxley. You got Kenny. Okay, we want to finish up the Adam Page story. Okay, we got CM Punk, so we want to make him the champion. And then, all right, but we need you now, Mox, because we need an interim champion. But we're going to go back to CM Punk, when he comes back. And it's like, you kind of, it's like you're looking for the guy, and I think he's shown the last 3 months for sure, if not before that Moxley's standing in front of you. Like go with that guy. And I think that's true now more than ever, given the circumstances. So I think he continues to hit home runs and is just and showed why he should be trusted in that spot last night. Like if he's the guy giving that promo in the middle of the ring, like that's, to me, you send out who in your mind is like that guy. And that's who got sent out. So I think, like Tony Khan right now is like, okay, we're going with this. And I think that's the right call here in the short term. I don't know how long you go. MJF is going to need to run with that title for sure. But for right now, building the house around Moxley, I think it's not a bad idea.
Yeah. And just even the more little things, MJF coming out right after Tony Khan's announcement of the vacated titles, you could see that as like, that's Tony Khan playing with critics of him, and you and I are in that camp from time to time. We give praise and we give criticism when I think needed. But
yeah, we just did. I mean, it was a good show last night. Yeah.
But to me, like, I'm like, oh Lord, like I knew that was going to happen. I predicted on the live stream beforehand, but like he's going to do it, and then I thought MJF would interrupt him if he did something live. But the pre-tape MJF comes out, and it gives you that doubt in the back of your mind of like,
yeah,
this is like the company going off the rails, and it's going to be all work shooty BS. And then to then plan Moxley to come out, right the ship, to subvert expectations, and really. Doing that kicks things into another gear of like, hey, we got this. Don't worry about it. I know that we run a loose ship, and now we're gonna run a very mildly gripped ship. We're gonna give you a dead fish handshake grip on this ship now going forward, and that's better. Yeah. That's an improvement. But yeah, 100%. And it depends on. I'm sure we'll get more contract info from MJF, but Moxley at this point. Has earned that right. I think, in my opinion, him getting the title, especially at Grand Slam, because MJF's not involved, seems like a foregone conclusion and feels like a rightful coronation of him after this time. And then I don't know if you need to give it to MJF, or we're a little bit away from that. But other things on the show that I want to talk about, Danielson and Page. Obviously, Page losing there is what was needed, I think, the way his character's been. And it kind of also shows he's involved for sure, but I think him not being punished is appropriate. And but showing him losing is also like, hey, I'm not just gonna like reward this guy because Punk was against him either. So I think in the meta narrative that made a lot of sense as well. So and that being on the show as well kind of hit that point home.
Yeah, it's like it's like a little, in a way, I guess you could say petty, but at the same time, as Tony Khan, you only have so many levers you can pull, and one of them is, as petty as it may be, one of them is, hey, you're doing the job tonight, and I think that was the right call. They didn't want to, as I was just going to say, Sean chimed in and beat me to it. They didn't want to give him too much. I think that's the right way to go. Even he was getting some boos last night. Page. Some quiet boos, but they were there, which tells me like the audience is kind of, broadly speaking, is kind of like you and I and a lot of people in the chat here, where it's just like, guys, this is ridiculous. Like, you all are getting booed for this because you're all out of your damn minds. Like, just how can you not pull it together? That's what it felt like to me. Because Adam Page never gets booed. That guy never, he never gets booed, and neither does Tony Khan. So.
Yeah. Well, I think the Page thing accounts for the 20-ish% of the fan base that probably think he started all of this. I mean, he did technically, but I certainly don't think that's enough to warrant this kind of stuff within a workplace either. So I think but I think there are people there that think that if he doesn't say one thing in a promo, even though Punk did that all the time, we don't need to relitigate this. But I think there's that portion, and it felt like that kind of minority of a minority group doing that. So
yeah. Hey Nathan, thanks for letting us know. That's interesting, to say the least. Huge news. That's just crazy news. And then let's get into Sir Fark's question here.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think there's no word on the CM Punk suspension, yet Kenny and the Bucks have been officially announced as suspended? So this is speculation because I don't know. And there hasn't been much reporting on it either. But my speculation is that Tony Khan doesn't know yet. I think the injury to CM Punk, reported that he injured his arm and will need surgery, kind of gives Tony Khan like a little bit of a period here to figure out what he wants to do with CM Punk, because, he doesn't have to have him on TV. He wasn't going to be the world champion anyway, coming out of that show because he was hurt. Like, I think they're just holding on that to try to see, where things go. That's my take, Tyler. I mean, do you have any other news on that, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, mine, again, would be speculation as well. It might be a little bit more boring, but if you're trying to deal with a situation that is almost certainly going to get litigious in this situation, is that, and CM Punk is a litigious individual. If someone is hurt and unable to perform their job, I believe that suspending them could be viewed in a court of law as taking sides on something. So he's essentially, it is very telling he didn't come out there and say like, "Hey, I'm relinquishing the title," which is what would have happened if there was a normal press conference on Sunday and no fight would have happened. He would have come out and said, "Hey, I can't go," and then like probably gave him the thumbs up to Moxley in that scenario if Moxley was not going to go on vacation still. But yeah, I mean, you don't need to officially suspend him. And if you got to cross your T's, dot your I's to make sure it's not going to bite you in the back end, then I think it's the prudent move, being a little boring in a corporate scenario.
And the company's still investigating this too. They are still investigating what happened. And so maybe they don't, they could easily not know the Punk side of things yet. And, they'll address it down the road.
Yeah. And one other thing on that, if I can say, so, the Bucks and everyone else being suspended tells me they're not going to get let go from the company, right? You don't. You do at certain jobs. You can suspend with the knowledge you're going to fire them at the end of it. But to me, Ace was not injured, so he's in the same boat too. It's that I think it's more leaning towards their dismissal from the company. And if you suspend them, maybe it's harder to do that because you've already levied punishment. So that's the other side of that as well.
Yeah. I think that's a good answer. Yeah, I mean, Zach, given that they were incited and called out by Punk and didn't go to the locker room looking for a fight, considering they had HR with them, I think stripping the Elite was a bit unfair. Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I firmly don't think so. I think and it's not, and again, and Tyler, crack on me if I'm not right here, but like, to me, this had to be more than just, well, okay, I'm Tony Khan and I'm going to try to figure out what happened here and then levy punishments based on that analysis. Like, is that probably like the fairest way to go? Absolutely. But I think the bigger play here for him was getting that control back. And because clearly he lost it. He's lost it since back in May when Adam Page is going into business for himself and got stories leaked to the news. You got Eddie Kingston punching Sammy Guevara backstage. You got this Punk stuff and probably stuff we don't even know about. Cody stuff, even leading before that. Mm-hmm. He didn't have control of the company. And so this situation, if I was him, was going to be about fair schmear. Like, we're putting an end to this right now. Big punishments for everybody, period. And I'm reestablishing the hierarchy here. So I just don't think it was about fair. It was about, making a move that positions him where he needs to be in the company and making sure that they can set a foundation to build off of moving forward. So that's my take. Unfair, yeah, maybe, but in this case, that just wasn't in the cards.
Correct. And also I'll take the corporate side of it. If I'm Tony Khan, the business person, is, if again, everything's gonna be taken with a grain of salt. The door being broken down is the Punk side of the story. The door was, knocked on and opened is the Buck side of the story. So, you gotta think that's somewhere in the middle. Maybe they knocked and then opened the door. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But what it is here is like you said, you get in control of the locker room. If they are still champions and they show up, then it looks like even more of a joke of the company. But if you're going to let Ace and CM Punk go because of this, you've got to have a serious consequence for the other side of it, or else you are just going to automatically lose some potential lawsuit that's coming down the line as well. So I know I keep hitting that, but that's the important thing. And I think that is even more on the table than I thought. And previously. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I
essentially like bringing, if the story is to be true, that they brought, the I forget the person's name who's in charge of their HR and legal department was there, and they're not this, they are walking along, right? So it's believable that the Bucks were like, hey, come on, we're going to go talk about this. I want you there to make sure, this isn't, we know Punk is litigious, so I want to make sure we're protected. So that shows a probably lack of malice on their part that I think they took into account because they weren't sure maybe this is boiling over and they knew it might come to this. So that's also its own level of premeditation, but so that's all kind of in there as well. So
yeah, it is. I mean, it's weird to sit here and think man, I think there's a very good chance we've all seen CM Punk's last pro wrestling match. And it's such a God, man, it's just a disappointing story. From Chicago, I've been watching, CM Punk from the very beginning, since he was on teeny tiny small shows in Chicago and IWA Mid-South and then in Ring of Honor. I've seen his whole career. And, it seemed to me, now he could, he's a wrestler, so he easily could have been working and selling. But it seems to me that based on what he said and up until the last 2 weeks, he seemed to really buy into this part of his career, and as part of his career that can kind of right the wrongs of the earlier part of his career, or what he perceived as wrongs. He's going to be a top guy, he's going to be able to do what he wants and have the kind of wrestling feuds that he wants, and he seemed to be on board with that. And then, the dude just can't get out of his own damn way. And yeah, Brandon, good stuff. And Azan too. Good. I mean, he's the own worst enemy. And it's just you had a good thing going here, man. You couldn't have drawn this up any better. You leave WWE when there's no national competition even close to their level. And you say you're never going to go back, and you probably weren't going to because WWE ran the show. And then now out of nowhere, this kind of groundswell of kind of this revolution of pro wrestling fans collides with somebody with a lot of money. You get this television product that's legitimate and real and growing. And it's this perfect situation fell right into his lap. And in 1 year, almost to the day, it completely blows up, and it's just when you just take the wrestling out of it and look at just the human disappointment, it's dude, what the hell are you thinking? You see these people once a week, come on. It's just an unfortunate story. And I think the other part of this is too, for Tony Khan, it's this is his business, his money is in this. And, I don't know what the TV deal looks like without CM Punk. It could likely just be just fine. It's not that, but it might not be, and Tony needs to hit on that deal. And it's if you're CM Punk, you're jeopardizing all that. It's really unfortunate.
Correct. One thing that we obviously didn't talk about on Monday, please go back and watch that show. That was kind of our live reactions to the
that was a fun show. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. But, we didn't know he was injured at that point. At least I didn't. I don't know if you did. But, if you go back and I watched the scrum again last night, you can see him, one of his 37 cans of seltzer water, he was like putting on his tricep, which I almost got a muffin today just so I can be like, why I'm talking to be so disrespectful to you. But anyway, do we think that this happens if he probably knows he's like, all right, well, this thing is bad. And I know he's like, I know a bad injury when I know one. I mean, he had the other elbow he injured before. So is this him knowing he's injured again after a title match? He's going to be gone for a while and he wants to get a shot in there before he leaves and hope that to burn it down on the way out. And that he's one of those employees where he thinks if he's not there, that the whole place is going to crumble, which are always kind of dangerous employees that I think we've all worked with in the past. But, I guess my bigger question is, if he's not injured, do you think this happens this way?
That's a great question. I mean, I don't think so. No, I think we'd have to see I think we would have seen more and specific punishment for CM Punk, like right out of the gate. I think the injury has allowed Tony Khan to kick the can down the road a little bit.
Let me reword that. Do you think Punk would have said the things he said if he wasn't injured?
Oh,
if he's like, hey, I'm gonna be there Wednesday, and we got to set up for me and MJF or me and whoever, me and the rematch with Mox at Grand Slam or whatever was going to happen. Do you think he talks the way he talks if he thinks he's there on Wednesday?
Healthy? Man, I think yes, mainly because I mean, yes, he probably knows his body. He's been injured before, but you don't really know until you get checked out. So just on that technicality, because I don't have a good answer, yes, I think he probably would have just gone the same way. When you watch the scrum back, nobody really even brought up Colt Cabana. It almost felt like it was like premeditated that, okay, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to address this because Nick Hausman was on with Wade, and hearing him and then, going back and hearing the actual scrum, it kind of came out of nowhere, like this whole thing. It's not like the media was peppering him with questions about Colt Cabana. So to me, that kind of tells me he was planning this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the answer. I tend to lean the other way. I think he knew what he was doing to some extent, and if he knew he was going to be gone, he wanted to. I think there is some, and I'm not a defender of Punk here, but I think there is some code in his mind, some honor amongst thieves, if you will, of him not wanting to leak this through a media source, because I don't think he has any media sources. I don't think he would do that. It's just not his vibe. But I think he wanted to get that out there if he's going to be gone for a while, and he didn't want to let that fester within him, which is a problem. But I think this would be more issues backstage reported through third parties if he were not to be injured, and this would happen eventually. But there you go.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's a good point, Tracy. You cracking me up with this one. I think Punk was rehearsing that in here for a week. Could be. I mean, the guy is a spiteful guy. He holds grudges. That's for sure. This is a fun scenario. I don't want Punk in WWE now, but Roman beating him would be great. VIP is the best. Thank you guys. Appreciate that.
If they did that, they'd have to have it be like a match on the Raw before WrestleMania, where if Punk wins, he gets the main event WrestleMania, and then he loses.
Yes. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't see that happening. I mean, I guess you throw enough money around and, you just never say never, but that would be something for CM Punk to show up.
That would be the spirit of Vince McMahon and Triple H. If that was, it probably is best for business, especially for the 1 million person gap between the two companies that are not as focused on this, to see someone like CM Punk, who at least fans that are in their mid-20s are aware of, I would say. WWE fans in their mid-20s. But I don't know. It definitely is not worth it. It better be a Goldberg type run if they do something with him. So
So let's talk about, we've so many people have been talking about this for so long, and it's a story. It's a big story. You've got 4 of your top stars there one day, next show they're not there, and we don't know when 3 of them are coming back. Big story. But I thought, last night's show was a really good reset. Not just because of like Tony Khan and him cutting like making that announcement, but just tone wise, and format wise. Like it just felt like it was built around concrete pro wrestling things, the world titles, TNT championship with Wardlow's little promo, Tony Storm getting some time out there as champion to just win a match. Like that, they have played in this meta world so much, and they've been trying to dip their toe in so many different places. And it was refreshing last night to just watch a damn pro wrestling show. and I think like it, to me that matters. And I think it was, long past time to lean into that. Maybe it's just a one-time thing. I don't know. But to me, this was an easy watch. It was a fun watch. It had some good wrestling, and and you didn't need any of this other craziness to get there.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed, if not directly, it seemed like Tony took some tangential advice from someone like Wade, where, you pick 12 people to run with. And that's what it felt like last night, right? I mean, the people are Bryan Danielson, Daniel Garcia, Tony Storm, The Acclaimed, John Moxley, MJF. Like those people, those names will be, Death Triangle. So in combination, Pac and the Lucha Bros, like all those people were put there in the forefront of maybe the most important show in AEW history to like maintain the fame. And we'll see next week, right? It did. Tracy put the rating in the timeline. It was one.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It was 1,000,001.035, which I think you and I would be very disappointed by. But it held steady. So, I think we'll see next week if it stays in that same boat. At least the rating didn't crater week over week. And it proves that that's the baseline of people really into this, which, 1 million people is a lot of people still, but there's probably 1 million people who are living and dying by this news, and not much more.
To be honest, man, I think that's not a disappointment, but there was just so much buzz around.
Yeah. I mean, I want to see the quarter hour. I want to see the first 15 minutes, and I'll try and look it up while you're talking, because I think that could have been like 1.3, 1.4, and then it kind of leveled out when they saw, okay, this is over, and then now it's a wrestling show the rest of the night. So
yeah, and like, yeah, that brings up the idea of like, okay, should you be trying to work this through, and take advantage of it from, because like if let's say there's 1.5 million that started at the top of the hour, but then it goes down to 1 million once everybody figures out what's going on. Like if you start that show with Kenny Omega, or you start that show with CM Punk, like what do the ratings look like then? And I don't look in this instance. I don't think you could have done that. Like it just seems like the tempers were just that was just not going to happen, which makes it all still so damn unfortunate, because 1 million people with this intrigue. I don't know, man. I was expecting bigger. I really was. I didn't see Tracy drop that in. Thanks for
yeah. And I got it up. I got it up now too. It was number 2 in the demo behind Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Well, of course.
Yeah, so it got a 0.38 and that got a 0.39. Beat everything else pretty badly, but I don't see quarter hour numbers in yet. So if anyone gets that link, please share it in the comments below, because I'm very curious about that. But not a win, but I don't think it's as absolutely horrible.
No, it's certainly not horrible.
But Tim's got in the thing. Yeah,
there we go. Okay,
little 1.1, definitely not 1.5 at any point. Yeah, I mean, it just proves like, and it's good to kind of to use that as a mantra of like, there is like this many people who care about this that much, right? And that is literally, it seems to be the defining line between people who are watching it live, right? It might be different, but maybe people that watch WWE that don't like AEW might have been around on Twitter to see if anything happened, but they're not going to watch it live, right? There's a disconnect of people that, this is just like the limit for that. And putting on good wrestling with good stories, good production value, etc., is in building a valuable, having a valuable brand, having an identity, having loyal fans. That's the way to boost ratings, not meta stories and hot-shotting stuff, etc.
Yeah, but that's really well said. And I think, and I think, if that means, you're going to slip out of the gate here from, 1 million to 850,000 live viewers, so be it. Because the goal is, yes, the goal is week to week. There's a lot of money riding on those ratings, but you want to have a product that's solid long term, and you can't do that by just like hyping like Tony Khan announcements or surprise appearances or meta angles. Like you gotta just have a pro wrestling show. You really do. Yeah. And I think this is a good point from Sean. It's like, there is good buzz and there's bad buzz, and this was not like, this was embarrassing for the company, I think too. It wasn't like just buzz, but it was like, really? What a clown show, and that's not necessarily interesting buzz.
I would agree.
What did you think of, so we talked Moxley, and but what did you think of like the Wardlow promo in particular? Because he's a guy that I think, with CM Punk around, with Kenny Omega around, with the Young Bucks around, but mainly Punk, like at the top of the card. I think Wardlow kind of had a ceiling for right now, not for his career, but just for like right now. He was hot, and then he got pretty damn cooled off because MJF was gone and he didn't have anybody to work with really. And also I think there was an element of like, they're just not going to go all the way with him right now either. And I think he's very much like that character. It's like, it's going to be hard for that character to like build up losses and get sympathy and things like that, because he's just such a big guy. But now though, it's like there's some open spots up at the top there, and he kind of cut like that promo last night, Wardlow's world aside. It was pretty intense. It looked like he was like really kind of buying what he was selling there himself and like taking that as his moment. I don't love all that Wardlow does in the ring, but in terms of new stars, he got a chance over Ricky Starks. He was out there over Darby Allin. He was out there live over Jungle Boy. So I wonder if that's, that's telling.
Yeah. I forgot to add him when I had my little analogy there of people that are being run with. I think if you were on this Dynamite last night, that's a good sign for you where you stand in AEW. Yes. And Wardlow, my biases aside, obviously my bias there, I forgot to mention him, but I'm not a fan of the presentation or him. I just don't think he can work, and that's been established here on the show. But all that being said is, he was given a position to shine. And if someone was checking out the show the first time because of all this crazy news and they saw him go out there, destroy a guy that maybe they'd seen on WWE who got destroyed like that in the past by big stars, then that worked for them potentially. And then, he had a good promo for Wardlow that did not work for me personally, but here's what really matters, right? It doesn't matter what I think. The Buffalo crowd was into this, and they were into a lot of stuff that the crowd in Chicago was into. If you told me that was at the Now Arena, I wouldn't have been surprised, right? That crowd was hot. They seemed to enjoy the certain thing. Same thing with the Acclaimed, right? They continued that energy, I thought, exceedingly well. But the crowd was behind him, and if the crowd's behind somebody and, there's not much when it comes to their work rate or the stories they're telling, then there's potential there. So all that is to say, like, I think there's potential for him to be a more valuable asset week in and week out than he has been the last few months post MJF essentially. And you can always kind of come back to that, maybe have a real match as well between the two of them if that comes to pass. So
yeah, no, exactly. I think you're right on the money there. Anything else stand out to you on Dynamite last night, just given the circumstances, or just, hey, that was a hell of a match? I thought the main event was solid. But anything else stand out to you as far as like, this is interesting?
Yeah, I was very surprised. Well, on Jericho ruining that match by saying he was going to beat Danielson next week. So I mean,
that was unbelievable.
Unbelievable, because that was a really good match, and that sucked. That maybe hopefully people didn't hear it on that promo, because that whole Jericho promo was very strange to begin with. Like with the Sammy Guevara just being like the promo killer essentially as soon as he started talking. But anyway, that's beside the point. I was surprised Tony Khan had the confidence, and if we do get minute by minutes, I'm curious to see what it is like to not put Danielson and Page as the main event and keep Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia in the main event. I think that would have helped ratings to flip it, but it shows the confidence in having the two young guys go out there, the two AEW guys go out there and bookend a show like this to show kind of the strength of his leadership, etc. So I thought that was telling and interesting. And I don't know if that's his original idea or someone convinced him to do it that way, but I thought that was meaningful last night.
I think it was too. And I think, especially given the finish, where you're going to have Daniel Garcia, hometown guy, like go over, optically, hell, maybe I'm reading too much into this, but optically the ending the show with a, celebration like that, big pop, guy wins the title, Danielson's out there putting the belt around him. Like, I think just from a tone standpoint, like, you sent people home happy, but it's been a rough couple days. Like, let's right the ship and do something, do something good. And it didn't feel out of place either. Like, he seemed very much like that's a title Daniel Garcia could win. So I'm with you. But I thought the same thing. I'm like, this is weird. Like, if you're going to try to hold viewers, you obviously put that match on. I mean, yes, you either put it on first or you put it on at the end. And so seeing it in the middle was kind of like, interesting, but I think you're right. I mean, there's a confidence there, and there's just it's just one of those things where sometimes optics are important, and I think that played a big part into that decision. Outside of just being able to trust those guys.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's see here. I got to address this. So I wrote a column on this. I said that I would if I was wrong about the Acclaimed, and it appears I am, at least at this point. The scissor me thing, no, it's horrible. And here's the thing, and you can mark my words, all right? September 8th, 2022. It's hot now, guys. It is. It's selling like hotcakes, but so did the Rusev Day shirts. All right? To me, this is more like that than it is, like Daniel Bryan's run to a main event, And I say that with all the respect in the world for the Acclaim, and with all the respect and kind of hat tip to Tony Khan going with the hot act. Vince McMahon, when Rusev Day was sitting there on a silver platter, didn't go with it. Yeah, he made some shirts, but didn't position him in a way that could capitalize on some of that organic momentum. Well, Tony Khan has right now, and I think that's important. I just don't think it's going to last long. I'm sorry. Tyler, where are you at on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think I said in here like 2-3 weeks ago, like the Acclaimed are super fun right now. But if in, I don't know what I said back then, maybe 3 months from the time I had said it, if they're doing the same act, then they are in Enzo and Cass territory, right? Like that act was super hot coming from NXT. A new audience was seeing it. That's how the Acclaimed feel. And I think they're smart and creative guys that can slowly transition out of this phase, and I think they're in that moment right now. The only thing that was, last night that you probably didn't like, Zach, was the, I'm curious. Like, let's just like 2 points. So this isn't your house anymore. As Billy Gunn, I thought that was smart because he was like getting behind the crowd and said this is Daddy Ass's house. Like, probably didn't like that as much as like this is not your house anymore. So let's give that a 50% success rate out of 2 chances there. And then then Bowens and Billy Gunn doing the extreme scissoring thing. But if you drop those 2 things, I think that's what the Acclaim can be, right? And it's like, getting off a drug almost, right? Either you go cold turkey or you kind of winnow off slowly. Maybe smoking cigarettes is a better term, right?
Yes.
We need some nicotine scissoring gum.
Well, I mean, no, look, you're right. And I don't know. Look, okay. I must not be explaining myself. I don't think they disagreed with me. They're hot right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure they are.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally admitting to that, and it was fun, really fun to watch that happen. And for me, kind of like the art of wrestling, quote unquote, guy, like it was fun watching in that match at All Out, like Keith Lee and Swerve like switch around and like just like they didn't start off working that way, heels, but then by the end they totally were, and that was a fun thing to watch too. So no, I don't think they disagree with me. They're hot. It's just that I think it's a white hot that burns out quick, than that's something that really can be long term. But hey, we'll see. AT, all right. Glad to know someone's on my side.
Hey, he could be talking about us. You never know.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, right. I suppose yes. You could be talking about the old fireside chat here. Gosh, you guys are too kind. Yes, we're a team at the Torch, people. We really are, and you can catch some really good reporting and content all over the place. The website, the VIP side of things, YouTube, Twitter. I mean, it just the team that we got is just it's unreal. So appreciate the kind words, but team F for sure.
Except for that dumb air-filled idiot that I'm just kidding. There's nobody. I enjoy everybody's presence.
Yeah, I'm gonna go brawl with somebody here.
Yeah, I wonder who I would call out the most on the Torch. That's a fun hierarchy.
That could be a fun game.
Yeah.
Yes. Who would you bite?
Who would I bite? Oh, I don't know. I'd probably throw a punch with a torn tricep. That seems like a smart move. So.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, go ahead.
This is an interesting one. No, Tracy, of course not. Hey, look, all opinions here are welcome. There's something to be said for this second million thing. I mean, there really is. You just look at the other company; they're doing 2 million regularly. So there's a million wrestling fans out there that are watching wrestling that are not watching AEW. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe it's because of the fun. Maybe it's not. But the fact of the matter is, they're out there. They're out there. So I don't think you have a totally wrong. Go ahead.
Here's one small thing I would say. Just looking at the comments roll in. This is the most comments we've had. Only second to the the first 30 minutes of the show talking about CM Punk and the Bucks, right? So like we were talking about Wardlow, we're talking about, and not one comment I think about Wardlow, basically. Maybe there was a little bit, but like the comments just popped up tremendously when we started talking about the Acclaim. So that can be a good thing. That can be a bad thing. Like you said, it can be a white heat that burns out. I think the problem for them, if they retain on this path, is that they will be the class clowns of AEW at a certain point and not a legitimate team that can be, where I think they can be based on their match and the attention they got. They're not the greatest top tier workers of all time, but they're good. They're certainly not bad workers. So they've got everything it is to be there. And I think that's like the transitioning away from this slowly to retain the attention and the stuff, there's a lot of stuff going on at Grand Slam that's going to be important, but them and their match with Swerve in Our Glory, I certainly think could main event. I don't know. Do you know off the top of your head? I started to put you on the spot. Are they doing it like last year where there's a live Dynamite and a live Rampage? Or
I don't. I mean, I know that they're going to film Rampage from there. I don't know that it's going to be live. I would think not. But
okay. So, but this
it's
match
going to emanate from there, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to me, like right now, the way it stands is like the final of that tournament is the main event of Dynamite for the world title, and then the Acclaimed and Swerve in Our Glory's title match is the main event of another show, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So.
Could be, or they'll kind of like bookend it. They'll do one of them first and one of them in the main event could also happen as well. It's a 2-hour Rampage.
Yeah, and that's what they did last year. So maybe I think maybe I was mistaken there. Maybe they did 4 hours on Wednesday last year, and then they broke it into 2-hour shows. I think that is what happened actually. So that would make sense. But then you kind of know what happens. So. Do you want anything good on Rampage? I don't know, but and then I think that's 10 to midnight. So pray for me on that coverage. But
we'll post show 1 a.m. Although if you don't do it, Sir Fark will be devastated.
So yeah, I appreciate that. Sometimes you're talking to a mic and hit send on the email. You're not sure how many people are listening to you. So I appreciate you listening to that show because it's devolved into me kind of just like mumbling about things I don't like in AEW. So I guess there's an audience for that.
Maybe it's a new day. Maybe it's just a new day.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think so. I mean, obviously not, because we're covering this, but even if I wasn't, I would not be turning off the show because of that. So I think that probably proves Zach's point and your point, Hitton. But we'll see. We'll see here in a couple months who gets the last laugh. Hitton, good. Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it. Everybody check out Hitton's AW Rampage hits and misses columns on PWTorch.com over the weekend. Good stuff right up there. Tyler is our Rampage beat guys, so check them out. Let's pivot over to WWE for a bit. It's been a heavy AEW week, and but WWE over 2 million viewers on Labor Day weekend. Strong ratings continue for them that are about to plummet off a cliff because of the NFL, I would imagine. But
year over year, I think they'll be better, is my guess, which is a huge one.
I was just going to say.
Sorry.
No. You just take it away. Because that's what it's all about, right? You can't compare, NFL Monday Night Football weeks with non-NFL football Monday Night Football weeks. That's a mouthful. But you have to look, year over year, and I think you're right. I think there's a chance that you're going to see an uptick in ratings, and that tells you that they're doing something. They're doing something right. I think this week's Raw had some good moments, and it had some curious moments. The Braun Strowman return, Tyler, is something I had on my list to chat with you about. I don't have a problem with Braun Strowman like some others. He's not my cup of tea typically, but he's a WWE guy through and through. But why in God's name are we rolling through the tag division like that? They probably got 10 jobbers sitting backstage in the 24/7 division that could just get beat up by Braun Strowman. I didn't get that. I don't mind Braun being back, but man, I hope it's not at the expense of these other things that they've worked on building for so long.
Yeah, it seems, I don't know. It is strange. It feels very much like if McMahon could put his essence into, if McMahon got one segment every Raw, that this would be the McMahon segment of the new era of Raw. Because I watched the show mostly live. I enjoyed it very much, which I know is probably a shock to our hardcore viewers, because I had bad taste in my mouth, and you saw me live tweeting. I was tweeting in support of Miz in the main event and all that good stuff. Anyway, I don't know. One thing I'd say, if there's if there's anyone that is in production at WWE or a member of the announce team, I'd love to know the percentage pay cut that Braun Strowman got to come back. If he's making his former salary is 100%, if he's making half of that, I just want an announcer to say he's at 50% tonight for some reason, and all that, because that'd be the way he was. Here's where I'm getting with all this, right? If you didn't watch it live, there was almost no buzz about him coming back, in the way it could be me and my biases. I'm curious what you think and what the chat thinks, but the Gargano comeback, even Dexter Lumis, I feel had a bigger comeback story than Braun Strowman, which is I think fitting for where he is. But I don't need to double down. I think him destroying the tag division is dumb. It doesn't seem like a Triple H decision, so it's a little curious, but it is kind of shows that no one's perfect, right? No one agrees with you and your wrestling sensibility perfectly, right? I would bring back half of the people Triple H brought back, and there's someone else who would bring back half, but it'd be the other half that I wouldn't bring back, right? So Triple H is bringing back everybody, and that's kind of what this is. And I think him being slotted in this position shows kind of his ceiling within the company, and he's going to be more of a guy to build other people than where he was in the past, is my opinion.
It's good. That's good stuff. Well said. I don't think people were super excited for him to come back, just because I don't, we've kind of been there, done that with Braun Strowman, right? We've seen all the stunt stuff. He's super limited as far as in-ring goes. He's been champion, and it just didn't kind of work. Just kind of fizzled away. And to me, he's a depth guy at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's to me what he's going to be, either on Raw or SmackDown. And sure, he'll have his moments like he did on Raw, but I don't sense that he's going to be like the guy anytime soon. So maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's kind of why it kind of fizzled. Like with Gargano, like there's a connection there, right? There's like a deep connection there with his fans and the NXT fans. It's just not there with Braun Strowman. Plus, he acts a certain way on social media that doesn't help him out either with fans. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. He'll be on SmackDown tomorrow night, which we'll have to see where things go there.
Mm-hmm.
They 2 million on Raw, coming out of a pretty hot pay-per-view on Saturday afternoon that we watched here live on the YouTube channel. Had blasts. Thanks to everybody who joined us. And you can check that out on the channel now if you want to watch bits and pieces, or hell, just spend the whole 3.5 hours with us. Feel free. We would love that. But it was a hot show, and like I think they emphasized the right things coming out of it, but didn't overdo it either. Like you had a little bit of a Riddle and Rollins, storyline progression. You had like a recap of the Sheamus stuff with Gunther and his kind of moment in front of that audience at the end of the show. You had like talk about the main event, but not Drew McIntyre or Roman Reigns there. And so to me, it's like, man, you did 2 million off this. It didn't even have like some of the biggest stories coming out of that show on Raw. That to me is a good sign.
Yeah, I agree. And, I don't know if your overall feeling has changed since we did kind of our quick hits when the show ended, but I thought the bell to bell stuff was tremendous. There's 2 extremely dumb things that took place after a match, and that's the Dominic thing there. And then obviously the singing of Drew and Tyson Fury there. But besides that, I thought it was a tremendously successful pay-per-view. Obviously in dichotomy, as we talked about, watching it live to the AEW show that was about 5 hours long. This was a nice, easy watch with a hot crowd. So yeah, I mean, if you look at just the pay-per-views and nothing around them, both companies having awesome pay-per-views. I think the WWE one I probably like better from a rewatchability standpoint, and each match being really, really good, as opposed to AEW, which had really good stuff, but it's just so clouded now by all this other stuff that it's hard to look at it any other way. But both companies having strong performances in back-to-back days is something that warms my heart as a wrestling fan. So enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well said. Some debate here on. Let me see. Let me scroll through the chat here. Okay. Fail to pull the trigger on Roman Reigns. We're still debating this. I suppose, Zach, is your opinion changed on that, Tyler? Like looking now, a handful of days after the event.
No, I mean it's just like a lot of times in wrestling. Like just Drew's just not that guy, right? He's just it's hard to quantify what that means, but like him defeating Roman, I feel like going into Monday, going into tomorrow night, Friday. I just don't think there's juice there to like build the show around. It might be even to what tomorrow's episode is, but that's with Roman at almost 2 years being champion. And there's somebody else that can do it. And instead of Drew winning it and then Roman getting it at Rumble and then telling the story at WrestleMania, I think you just keep it clean all the way through, tell that story, and make it as special as possible for that person. So it's just one of those things. If it felt more right in my mind, and I know that's not like good analysis, it just doesn't feel like it's that time for Drew. And, if this is Drew, I don't know, if there's no pandemic, it's hard to say. I mean, his run got so obliterated at that time, and he's kind of like the John Moxley of WWE. If you want to do a kind of rough comparison, maybe even more an Eddie Kingston type, if Eddie ever got a belt. But it's just that guy that, we appreciate, but it just feels like when the Adam Page story, the Kenny Omega story, the CM Punk story needs to happen, it supersedes Moxley. And that's the way I feel about Drew. Like, that's just where we are.
Yeah, and I look, I just don't think it's a failure. Like I just like sitting here, looking at this, days out. You want to cultivate that. You want to build that up. You want to show that, hey, Roman's title is in jeopardy, and then manipulate emotions around that. Whether that means pulling the trigger or whether it doesn't. That's money to me. That emotion. You want to see Roman Reigns get beat, and so that's the crux of it. And then again too. Like I've said this forever. I just think there's more stuff for Roman to do that needs that belt than Drew. Does Drew need the title to feud with Karrion Kross? I'd argue no on that. Just go ahead and do that feud. It's going to be big, and that's that. Plus, again, the business part of this is if you set up your shows where you've got two like second tier titles as the main titles of those shows, and then this bigger title up here that goes between both, or like just is the ultimate goal, that can draw you numbers as well. And I think that's look, the bottom line is that's important. So okay, let's see. Next was Dominic. We saw him turn heel. I thought I'm really curious to hear the chat on this too, and obviously Tyler, you as well. The turn on the show itself, I thought was just a disaster, and even to this minute doesn't make any damn sense why he would side with the Judgment Day but help them win. Okay, that aside, I thought he had a pretty good night on Raw in terms of like his first night out as this heel character. Like I thought he emoted pretty effectively. I thought, he looks like believable, with the Judgment Day, but also like he's being kind of led around by the Judgment Day and by Rhea Ripley. And then Ray, I thought was great this week too, like opposite Edge, like kind of pleading with Edge to like, kind of have mercy a little bit, and then talking to his son. And then now we've got this story where it's like, hey, okay, Ray says he's not going to wrestle his son, not going to fight his son. Well, I think we all know where that's going to go at some point. So, but it's intriguing, it's meaningful for Ray. And I for a long time, it's like he's been an underutilized guy given who he is in this business. And I think this was a good start in my eyes, but what say you, and what say you, chat?
Yeah, I mean, I would mostly agree with you. I mean, I think there were better moments to turn him heel, and I probably wouldn't have been when they did it because, can you hold this till even the Royal Rumble, right? I mean, you got to kind of do this somewhat quickly, it would seem, or else you kind of lose some steam. So, that to me seems like a WrestleMania match, right? Father versus son. Yeah. It's been building for years, etc. So that's just kind of weird timing. Maybe there's not confidence, but when you have two WrestleManias, 2 nights of WrestleMania, what do you need? You need like 15 matches, right? 16 matches, something like that. So that would fit, in there, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I think Dominic has shown a lot of natural heel qualities, whether he likes it or not. Very punchable face, I think, if you were to like put that on him. So I think that helps to be a heel character. And if we can get to a point where Rhea is, maybe have like a collar around his neck and is leading him around like a dog, with the whole leather gimmick on, I think that would be comical, at least for me. And I think it could, he's a character that can sustain that, I would think. And, you can really own that Dom title, or maybe not. Yes. Rhea can own Dom if you know what I'm saying. So, but yeah, I think the match is going to be good between them, have a lot of heat. So I think overall it's a good idea. Just like when it happened is not superior, but I'm enjoying to see where it's going. And yeah, it gives Ray something to do. So all your big points I agree with. It just is interesting the time that they chose to do it. Maybe they thought that was the only way to extend this feud between the two with a definitive loss. Maybe that's why it was. So
I wonder, like looking at the trajectory of this feud and where it could go. I wonder if you want to do and it may be too quick for this, but I wonder if you want to do like the reunion of the two at WrestleMania, right? Like, you have them fight have matches before that, and then like a Savage Liz type thing, at WrestleMania. It'd be tough to see Dominic just beat his dad up at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So maybe that's a different angle they can take in an attempt to stretch it out, but not hold on the match for whatever, however long now.
Yeah, and it could also be like maybe Ray. I mean, it's not impossible to turn, key figures heel. I think he's better as a babyface, obviously, with his whole moveset and just his character. I mean, has Ray been a heel ever in a tangible way?
He was, I think, in WCW for a little while, I want to say. But
that's 30 years ago we're talking, right? Or 25 years ago. So
it's been a while,
Yeah. So just it seems odd. It would be a little too quick, in my opinion, to turn Dom babyface that quickly. So
yeah. Long term, they can always play that card too. It's like you can always go back to that.
Yeah, prodigal son angle, all that stuff. So
right. All right, a couple of quick news hits here, and then we'll call it a show. Triple H promoted chief content officer. No real surprise there. Like, just given, hey, Stephanie's the CEO. He's the head of creative. No real surprise there. What I found interesting was the highlight in the press conference of the ratings increase that Triple H has, quote unquote, been, I guess, stewarding. I thought that was interesting ahead of what is sure to be like, week over week ratings drops, significant ones. But did it stick out to you at all? Like that he's a C-level guy in a $1 billion company, Triple H, the DX dude.
No, I mean, it's the, consolidation of power. Obviously, it's kind of the backroom thing there. But, I didn't think this was a transitional job for him. But if you did think that, this kind of throws that out to the window as like Nick Khan was going to be the almighty one. And, still the co-CEO thing is still strange because was it 4% of Fortune or Russell 3000? Is it a Russell 3000 company? Right. I think that's the category that
I think so, but it's like a small percentage.
Yeah. 4% would be what? That's 12 companies out of 3,000. So if my math is right, it might not be, but it's still odd. So still keep your antenna up for what's going on here, for the power broken behind the scenes. But as we've seen, there are things in corporate, structures that are, actual corporations, not AEW, that things happen months previously that lead to announcements in the public square. So I think this is essentially like a lagging indicator of Paul Levesque taking creative control of the TV product. What was that? 8 weeks ago? No?
Yeah, not even. Maybe.
So, that could have come out then, but he's been doing this job ever since. So it's just again, a lagging indicator. So not a ton of news, but it just solidifies that Nick Khan is not the almighty power broker, or if he is, he enjoys Paul Levesque doing the stuff that he probably doesn't like to do.
Yeah. And I think like that's not unhealthy. Like if they can work together and get along. I mean, like, I don't think Nick Khan, I think he cares about WWE creative. Like, I mean, I don't think he cares about that. I think he wants to put together big partnerships and sponsorships and make a lot of money, and, Stephanie, fine by her, I mean, I think as long as he delivers there won't be an issue. And last but not least, unless anybody's got some questions in the chat, if you do, drop them in there and we'll get to them before we hop off here. Raw on Monday night, they're colliding with Monday Night Football for the first time this year. Always a big deal. It seems to me that they're trying to play a little offense here because they've got some big matches scheduled. They've got Edge and Dominic for one thing, which I think is going to potentially draw some eyeballs. You also have Johnny Gargano's in-ring return. And then doing a women's tag title match with Aaliyah and Raquel Gonzalez against Damage Control. So, it's not Roman Reigns. It's not Brock Lesnar, but it's, to me, it looked like a concerted effort to put something on the show that people will want to watch, even if Monday Night Football is on.
Yeah, I mean, and watching Raw, it felt very much like there's some tips and tricks taken from AEW and how they, the time of the show right before the main event, where the most people are probably watching in that hour to present what's going on next week, all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's as good as you could do if you're have the Raw roster, you don't have Roman Reigns, and yeah, so I think they're trying hard and trying to maintain a rating there, and it feels like a company that is more hungry than it has been in the past.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, man. That's a really good way to put it.
To not drop. I mean, and Triple H is more hungry than Vince, right? I mean, he has to be. Vince is a crazy SOB, right? And is a hard worker, all that stuff. Not saying that. Of all his flaws, he is. If you want to be unhealthy, workaholic, he's a good person to emote. But Triple H is a guy that needs to retain power, and I think him having a strong number through this season would help with that, because they are on the last 50% of their current TV deals. So they need things to, maintain kind of current levels to keep getting these big checks. So that's on him.
And they're not going to beat Monday Night Football. It's just how do they perform up against against it? Is it better than last year? Is it better than the week prior? What have you? Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's wrap up with some questions here. Rapid fire. Steven, who do you want to see challenge Gunther next? Tyler? Anybody on your list?
I mean, depends what you want to do, right? I mean, I feel like KO is more destined for Roman again at this point, but I think he's like on that level, so that kind of underweaves him and say, I mean, all that stuff. But someone of his level, not going down to a lower tier guy. I think keeping it higher end guys, the leader of groups, etc. But I guess KO would be my initial take without doing a deep dive on what makes the most sense. How about you?
I want to see Sheamus again.
Okay.
I want to see that match again. I think that match, given what it did at the pay-per-view and kind of the notoriety, I guess, that it got, like running it back on TV, I think could draw you a number. The other thing that I think you may want to think about doing is getting it on a babyface, so Solo Sikoa can grab it, as part of the bloodline. I think that could be an interesting story to go with too. And Sheamus, I think, to answer another question here, I think we've already seen the babyface turn, Sir Fark. I think that's done. Whether they wanted it to be that way or not, I think they did. But now, Tyler, I mean, I think he's babyface right now.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, unless you didn't watch that show, which seems odd to not watch that show if you watch WWE every week. But they're going to show highlights of it. They're going to, there's the whole moment. They didn't cut away from it, right? I mean, they knew it was a very strong potential, and they kept on it and had the crowd cheer them. They didn't cut to a video package. So that's what they want. They're not going to try and, this is not Vince's WWE, right? They're going to probably turn into easy things here that help their company. So, yeah. Babyface.
Babyface all the way. And then we'll wrap up. You guys are so mean to Aaliyah. So mean, but also correct. Okay, we'll wrap up here with Dr. Ross. Becky and Charlotte, do they return to the Royal Rumble or before then? Becky was in the news this week saying that her shoulder injury is, rehabbing well, but gave no insight as to what her timetable is. And Charlotte, haven't heard much from her at all. I guess I would say, like, there's no guarantee beforehand, but I would say certain, either at the Royal Rumble or soon after, as long as they're both healthy. Because, look, they want the WrestleMania payday. Who wouldn't?
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think you hit it right there. Everyone wants that payday. And, I think Becky's destined for bigger things than Charlotte is. Becky's destined for probably a main event spot of one of the two nights. Charlotte's probably more in a high profile feud or, maybe a women's tag title match, something like that. But, also I don't think you premiere both of them at the Rumble. You can space that out. And it seems like Charlotte would be the better surprise at the Rumble, as she is, kind of the ace of the Rumble, so to speak, from a winning standpoint, and then defeating her now gives you a bit of a rub and can set up a feud down the line, very traditional WWE style. And then Becky coming maybe sometime in February or whatever, you need stuff on the very wide chasm that is between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, and Becky coming in and then starting a 6-week story with Ronda that culminates at WrestleMania, I think works and could be a pretty hot angle. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, you guys, thank you so much for everybody joining the show today. A blast as usual. We'll be back next week, and we're around like throughout the week. We got some really cool stuff up on the channel right now. Tyler did a great show yesterday on the CM Punk Young Bucks Elite suspensions drama. That's there. Check that out. There's an interview with Matt Cardona that kind of lost in the shuffle with all the crazy news. That's there. Our watch along from Clash at the Castle is up for you guys to check out. The Wade we posted a clip of Nick Hausman and Wade on the Wade Keller Pro Wrestling Podcast. That's up there too, so you guys can check that out. I will be interviewing Sami Callihan tomorrow, and so we will have that for you guys as well on the old YouTube channel, so you can check that out probably sometime tomorrow afternoon, early evening. So you can check out Sami there. But do us a favor, subscribe to our channel, like the videos, tell a friend, spread the word. We're growing a pretty great community here, and just wanted to keep getting bigger and bigger. So Sean, Dr. Ross, Tracy, Steven, Zach, Sir Fark. Let's see who else here, man. We had a bunch of you guys come in today, which is cool. Vincent, Dana, Hitton, and so on and so forth. Thank you all so much. Tyler, a pleasure as usual, man. And we'll be in touch. We'll catch up soon.
Sounds good. Enjoy your night free of wrestling, unless you're getting deep in the Impact game. So
I'm not going to get in the Impact game today. I'm actually going to. I'm double screening it though. I'm going to have the Chicago Sky on one screen, and I'm going to have that NFL game on the other, and it's going to and a cold beer in the hand. So
nice.
It's gonna be a good night. How about you?
I usually work out after this, so I'll probably be running outside in the humidity. So, but I'll be watching the game afterwards. So
awesome stuff. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time. Really appreciate it. Take care.